Welcome to Nutty Buddy Entertainment. The next award being presented today is the Devil on Your Shoulder Award. This is presented to your favorite villain. And the nominees are...
Okay, so let's first start with our honorable mentions. Mysterio.
I had him on my list. I think, let's see here. I just want to make sure. I was the only one that had him on my top three.
I'll just make the case. I thought he was a great villain. I love how the MCU made his powers work through the illusions that he was using through those, technological advancements, if I pronounced that right. Yeah, and the villain really being scarred by Tony and these other people, and that his motivation was to become sort of like the next Iron Man, to be the next hero. So he made up it. I just thought it was all awesome. We all knew he was going to be the villain when the trailers came out. We just didn't know how. And then him projecting those monsters too, those elemental monsters was cool. So I thought he was a great villain and he deserved an honorable mention.
My favorite is the reveal of, obviously he's been in the bar with Peter and he's got Peter to hand over the Edith glasses. And then Peter walks off and then all these projections starts to shut down and the bar starts to look more dilapidated as the camera pans around and you see the people that are actually there and part of the whole thing. And he's sat there, and it's that moment where Jake Gyllenhaal sat there, or shall I say Quentin Beck is sat there, and he goes, see, that wasn't so hard. And he turns on it's just great. He's gone from like heroic and truth and justice to sneaky B word.
And we don't even know, this is how, we don't know for sure if he's dead, right? We still don't know.
I mean, I basically at this point I'm hoping he's not dead, but I just don't think he is. I think it was illusion on top of an illusion on top of an illusion. He'd already hightailed it by that point.
Which makes it such a great villain because he has the ability just to be so deceptive with his powers. Anything to add, Elliot?
Yeah, because I think in that moment, obviously when the fabricator, do you want to execute the drone attacks, Peter? Because I reckon there's on top of the illusion, so he's probably got a camera recorder at a certain angle to record. Of course, he's doctorate as well to implicate him in some way. But anything to add? No, but I mean, this is an Avengers level honorable mention, though, Ryan. I got to say.
Yeah. I don't know. I just really liked him. Let's go to our next honorable mention,
Sandman. That was on your list. Neil.
Really great. The best part of Spider-Man 3. It should have, you could have had Sandman, and like I say, you could have done without New Goblin, and you could have absolutely got rid of Venom. His plotline, it should have been his movie. Because the movies are always about, it's a Spider-Man movie, but it's always, the first two were about the villains. First two about the battle, the internal mental battle between Norman Osborn and the darker part of him, the Green Goblin. Spider-Man 2 is about Doc Ock and wanting to create a better world, but being misunderstood. And again, it's the dueling voices saying, he's got 4 artificially intelligent arms in his head going, you should be doing this. Yeah, maybe I should do this. With Sandman, it's this beautiful story of a guy who just wants to do better. And I keep thinking about the final scene where he's talking with Peter Parker after the Venom battle, after the whole thing dies down, and he's saying, look, your uncle was saying to me, you don't have to do this, you can step away, you can lead a better life. And he didn't want to. We spent the whole film thinking, oh yeah, he killed Ben Parker, when he hadn't. It was a complete accident. I still wish it hadn't been it wasn't this guy, it was this guy, Flint Marker. They could have just left that. It could have been Spider-Man had to take him out because he was doing these terrible things. He gets these sand powers and then he's just doing terrible things to try and save his daughter, essentially. And that could have been, you could have done the black suit, absolutely. But then what Raimi could have done is you could have had the black suit storyline without Venom, set up Venom for another movie. And then Raimi could have gone, look, I've set up the black suit, let somebody else do the Venom storyline. So you could have had you could have still had bully, emo Peter Parker, and him trying to take out Sandman because he's he's full of rage, and he's just all these chemicals in his brain from this symbiote suit are just making him not think straight. It should have just been a Sandman movie.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah, you could have just introduced Eddie Brock. Like, why do
you set it all up in this film?
Right, you could introduce character like what he did with Connor, Dr. Connor, right? Like he had him in the second one, and so I don't know. I'm with you. I actually like Sandman. I like his sort of like he became a villain because he felt like he needed to save his daughter. It kind of makes him sort of a sympathetic villain, where the other two sort of were being. It was more like a mental thing where they're being talked to by whether it's himself or the AIs, Green Goblin, which you mentioned. But yeah, I'm with you. I really liked him as his villain as far as his character and his story. Okay. Anything else to add, Elliot?
Yeah, I mean, he's not a bad person. He just had bad luck at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good emotional beat of the film as well, because like he's not actively trying to kill or hurt anyone as well. He's just compromising himself to save his daughter, just obviously who is dying in particular. And Thomas Hayden Church sells it so well. Yeah. I'm curious whether this variant we're going to get in No Way Home is him or John Cena's cryptic Sandman Instagram post. So, which wouldn't make sense if it is Thomas Hayden Church, like this Raimi version, because obviously he's achieved absolution from Peter's forgiveness.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. But let's go to our nominees now. So our first nominee is the Green Goblin, and let's see here. Maybe we'll let you go at it, Elliot. What are you? The Green Goblin. Why should he win?
Hello, my dear.
That's what I thought. As soon as that picture appeared, the first thing in my brain was, "Hello, my dear."
Just every line of dialogue Willem Dafoe delivered in that first film is just completely memorable, and I've made the point as well, just how the Raimi trilogy is immortalized in meme culture. It's just a wonderful first villain debut, and this was the film. Sam Raimi got people into Spider-Man. Obviously, he brought Spider-Man to the mainstream, got people into the 90s animation, all the previous works before, and just how the original film is so influential from what we've had in the last 2 decades. Like without the original Spider-Man, we don't get 2 reboots, let alone a sequel to begin with. Obviously, how far we've come since 2002. But just Willem Dafoe just has so many iconic characters, and this is definitely one of them. And even he has fond memories of this film from 19 years ago. He
loves
talks
it.
He talks about it with great fondness. In particular, he's just so compelling as well, and just with the mental battle that's going on in his mind as well, which we talked about before. But Green Goblin, he's worthy of a nomination.
Yeah, for sure. Back to Formula. That's the one that I remember. Back to Formula. Yeah. So that's a really good villain. I think he's iconic. It was interesting. Did you guys see that interview when they interviewed Jamie Foxx and the 3 of them?
My favorite part was Alfred. How was it coming back? What made you want to come back to play Doc Ock? Oh, for me, it was about the money.
Yeah.
It's just like great. And he goes, no, but seriously.
Yeah. We need money.
Okay, let's go to our other nominee is Doc Ock.
Speaking of.
Go ahead, Neil, on this one. Why is he a good nominee? Or why should he win?
I think, see, this is difficult because I know all 3 choices are going to be amazing. So I don't mind who wins. But for me, Doc Ock was one of my favorites from the animated series, one of my favorites from the comic books, and this could have gone wrong if they hadn't done it, if they hadn't got the practical effects right. When you think they had 16 people puppeteering the practical arms in that film, that's insane, and it works so well because each one has its own personality. It's great. It's like a better version of King Ghidorah from Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Where you got 3 characters, but the puppeteers did an amazing job, and even in CG it works. I love the way the arms work. The characterization is perfect because he's not the comic book twirly. He's not got the German yes, Spider-Man, I am going to get you. They could have gone down that road and it would have been campy as hell and not enjoyable. What we went with was this more modern version of Otto Octavius, who wants to make the world a better place, and he needs tritium and he needs Oscorp. I love the drive is a better world for humanity, but sadly when he loses his wife and the arms take over, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you should be doing that." They start whispering in his ear and poisoning his mind. It's great development. It was a wonderful. It's probably my favourite version of Doc Ock in any media, to be honest. With the exception of, we're not including the games, because the PS4 game does Doc Ock splendidly as well.
Yes.
So I put them on a par, to be honest with you. But amazing cinematic interpretation, and Kevin Feige's right. You couldn't have recast this role.
Correct.
I'm so glad they brought him back, and it's this Doc Ock they're bringing back. So I'm so pleased. It's one of the reasons I'm so excited about No Way Home, is knowing that he's back as a main character. Love him, absolutely love always loved the villain. Loved him as a villain in all the medium, but it's the perfect adaptation. Amazing.
He's not just one of the greatest villains in comic book cinema history. He's one of the greatest villains in cinema history, hands down.
Definitely.
Especially the arc he goes through in this film as well, in juxtaposed to Peter's, because obviously, Peter's trying to find obviously a duality in terms of balancing like life as Peter Parker, his life as Spider-Man, and him meeting Otto's like a man that's mastered his gifts, he's committed his life to science, and he has a loving wife as well, so he has a good professional and personal relationship that he masters so well, and Peter looks at him and think, wow, my goals are possible here. So it's difficult, but it is possible here. And the fact that he's not really a villain anyway, he's just manipulated by his firearms. So he can good, use the dark side, get the money and get the tritium. Let the hate flow through you. Yeah, that's why Doc Ock is number one on my list. And I never thought rewatching Spider-Man 2 last Wednesday, I'd be going, all right, see you next week, Alfred. Just drowned in that scene.
Oh boy, couple more days, guys. Okay, let's look at our
less than
last
24
nominee.
hours now.
Yeah.
Again, I told you, amazing choices. This whole thing. I don't care who wins, because all three of them are fantastic.
Now, obviously, the Vulture here is interesting because, like, he had a solid motive for going bad, right? Because basically he was hired to do the cleanup after the Avengers fight in New York, and then it got taken away from him by Tony Stark, basically. So he bought a bunch of stuff for the cleanup, and so in order to pay it, he had to go to a life of crime, basically. And he did it basically for his daughter, right? And then to protect his daughter at the end of the movie, he doesn't reveal who Spider-Man is in case, he was close to his daughter. But I thought a really good villain. I love the way he was made. His wings are pretty cool as well. Wonder if they'll change it at all in the future. But great villain here.
I am hopeful. I think it's too much to hope for. So I think we're already getting enough of what we are looking for in No Way Home, but I would love it if he made an appearance. No matter how brief it is, I'd love it if he's the sixth member of the Sinister Six.
That'd be great,
we'll see. Just amazing. What I also love is, sorry if I could just add on quickly,
I love
they didn't go for the peculiar comic book concept of stealing the life force. That's great for a Raimi universe, because that's already quite, flashy and colourful, these weird high concept things going on. You could totally do that in that universe, but they went with a guy downtrodden just trying to make ends meet. Teams up and goes, we're going to build all this tech, and here's my cool Vulture suit. It worked. I just thought, great. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about this Vulture, but he's amazing, one of the best villains in the MCU, and a great Vulture adaptation that I'm glad looks like it's going to be in probably straddle both the Spider-Man, the Sony universe and the MCU going forward. So great.
Yeah, I like how grounded he is. Like it's
totally.
And I think the MCU typically does a good job to keep their villains, like, unless if it's like otherworldly, it's basically grounded, which I really like.
Yeah, he's not one of those sort of higher purpose based people as well. He's a working class individual who got screwed over by the rich and powerful, and he just took the opportunity he had, even though it was a life of crime. He ran with it just to make the best of a bad situation. And I like that angle as well.
Also, how good is the scene where he starts to realise that Peter is Spider-Man?
And the red light to a green light. The red light to a green light.
Yes. I just thought of this. Do you think the last villain could be Shocker in the Sinister Six because remember he was in
Shocker,
Woodbine, he could be.
Anyway, let's
cool.
let's go to our winner here.
And the winner of the Devil on Your Shoulder award goes to Dr. Otto Octavius.
Yeah, he was number one on all our lists, so
It's the perfect choice.
Yeah, perfect choice. And I'm so excited to see him again. So Alfred Molina's Doc Ock wins the award for The Devil on Our Shoulders. What villain do you like the most in the Spider-Man live-action movies leading up to No Way Home? This doesn't include No Way Home. So, also, is there other villains that you would like to throw their hats in the ring, so to speak? Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and if you'd like to listen to the rest of the podcast, hit on the links below. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.